Hello and welcome to my little video about All Out War. I'm not planning to go into super deep depth delving into the strategies and everything of the event, but rather just give a quick overview, explain the basic rules, the basic setup of the event, how it works and everything, so that everybody who wants to play it has a basic idea of how to play it, what to do, what he needs to take care of, etc. etc. So first of all, the event in general is kind of a mix between Glorious Battle and Siege of Winterfell. It has elements of both events. You can see the map right now, which is fairly similar to the Glorious Battle map. Has the same icons, has gates around the middle point, but then if you get a bit closer and zoom in on the map, you will see that there's a lot more going on actually. When you see on the first week glance. I'm gonna get to this later. It is quite a lot. It's not something simple as GB or Siege of Winterfell where you have clear objectives all the time. But yeah, let's start with the rules of the event. It's a pretty decent RTS mode, so it's a real-time strategy with elements from GB and Siege, as I said, and it's split into different phases. The first phase is the registration phase, where alliances have the option to register, similar to Alliance Conquest, Winterfell, etc. And then after this registration phase, there is the matchmaking phase for one day, where all alliance movements are locked. Porting kingdoms should still be possible, because it doesn't matter for this event. But alliances are locked, similar to the matchmaking day in GB. Then after this matchmaking phase, you'll have the allocation phase. In this phase, nothing happens in terms of gameplay, but the teams and factions get allocated to each other. So each battlefield, the way it is right now in Pioneer, keep in mind that of course everything can change. The rewards will most probably change, that I will show later. The rules might still change as well, and the event was a bit adjusted to fit the testing on Pioneer, so that those things will probably be adjusted as well for the live service. But yeah, for each battlefield consists of 8 factions, and each faction consists of 2 alliances. The way it is set up now is that the top 8 alliances of the bracket get their own faction, and the lower 8 of the bracket will get allocated to these factions. The way it is right now is that alliances can choose where to go and also need to be accepted by the leading faction, I suppose. I thought I didn't get any insight on that. But yeah, the way it is, you have 8 top alliances. To these 8 top alliances, the lower 8 will get slotted into. So you'll have 2 alliances per faction, somewhat balanced matchups, I suppose. But it also means that you will have 1,600 players on the battlefield, assuming that each alliance is full or close to full. Which is quite a lot. Hopefully it runs well. Then after this allocation phase, it is 4 days, which is quite long. I don't exactly know why there's like an entire week of the event before anything happens. Then after this allocation phase is done, the battle phase begins. The battle phase doesn't have a fixed time in the rules. On Pioneer it's 5 days. I suppose it will change for the live service as well. The way it is on Pioneer as well now is that all the buildings in the map open all at once. There's also the system in place with world progression, which I assume will work similar to GB, where different areas of the map only open after a different set of time. If not, it will be quite messy. And would be a lot of work to do, and then the requirement of being online 24/7. But I'll get to it later as well. Yeah. At the moment, PvE declarations are 30 seconds, which is fine. I guess they don't really give much points or anything. And then PvP declarations are set at 1 hour before the battle starts. This goes back to what I said, that if everything opens all at once, it will just be mayhem and everybody will rush for everything. And if the declaration time is 1 hour for PvP battles, they will be quite short and require people to be online a lot. I hope that will go to the same, or maybe a shorter but longer, shorter than GB, but maybe definitely longer than 1 hour. That's definitely needed. Yeah. So then let's get to the match description, which is basically in the first of the map. You saw it earlier. You have the Twin Dragon City in the middle, similar to Glorious Battle, being the main point producing machine, so to say. Also has a bonus that if you have it, the enemy casualty rate is increased by 10%, which is nice. But the first occupant bonus is huge, and the occupation points you get for while you occupy the city is huge as well. Following this, you'll have the industrial cities, which are the cities where you can mine brass, silver, and obsidian. These resources can be used for different things, I will get to later as well. Then you have the military cities. In these military cities, they can be used similar to fortresses in Glorious Battle. So you can deploy your troops from these military cities. I don't think there's any cost involved, but I'm not sure. At least there isn't now, as far as I could test. So from these military cities, you can deploy your troops to be quicker into the battle, or deploy somewhere else to have a different objective. So you don't need to walk from the main city every time. Then you have the blasting cities. These blasting cities are basically giving you total stats. Pretty simple, straightforward. So if you have them, you'll get more stats for the battles. The resources city give you increased gathering speed, and the potion city give you an increased hospital healing speed. Pretty straightforward as well. And then you have the gate stages, which are basically gates connecting different regions in the event. I suppose based on this, that these will be the gates, and different regions will be opening with the different world progressions, but we'll see how it plays out on live. Right, so each of these cities, right, has different buildings inside of it. Every city has a municipal center, which is basically the heart of the city, and which you need to occupy in order to capture a city. Then you have warehouses, which can be used as points of delivering the resources you've gathered. There are many different cities. And you have the barracks, which are only in the military cities and in the home city, being the place where you can deploy your troops from. The archer towers and the city gate, each city has 4 of them. On each side there's 1 tower and 1 gate to protect the city, kind of. Then you have the armory, which is only in the main city, I think, where you can produce chariots. I'll get to that later as well. And then there are resources outside the city, and in these places you can gather the resources, like wheat fields, brass mines, silver mines, and obsidian mines. This is where you can gather the resources, actually, which are always around the industrial cities. Right. So all these little dots you see on the map, all these little dots, these are villages. In order to progress in the map, you not only need to occupy the big cities, but you also need to occupy the villages, because you can only declare war on a building, or you can only start occupying it if you own at least one adjacent city or village to it. So I couldn't just go here, declare it, and take this industrial city. I would need to first take the villages and the buildings adjacent to it to have at least one connection to it before I'm able to declare on it. So this allows people to cut off supply lines, or like prevent people from attacking buildings or like cities of yourself by having them need to go through villages first as a kind of protection buffer. These villages can also be turned into fortresses. If a village is a fortress, it means that it has a higher durability, and the surrounding villages are under protection, so they have a bubble. This means that in order to capture these villages, you first need to take the fortress, and without taking the fortress, these bubbles will stay up and you will be unable to attack the villages. That's it so far for the match description. The awards are a bit underwhelming, I might say. Dragon Marks and Oxmeat for the ranking rewards for the factions. I highly assume this will change. I don't think this will make it to live, the live service the way it is. And then we have the individual elimination ranking rewards, which is a new marching animation that's not in the game yet. It has the image of the rebel killing marching animation, but it has a different name. But it's not in the game yet, so you'll need to see and wait what happens. And the top 3 ranks get the weapon, or in this case the crown for Crevasse, as a reward. This might also still change for live servers. You see there's still empty frames as well, so we'll see what will come out of it. But the rewards seem quite decent if you think about it. It's a lot of reforged ore and locking ores, which is quite nice. Quite a decent amount of speed ups as well. And yeah, similar to GB, you can also impeach commanders, which with only 2 alliances probably, hopefully, shouldn't really be necessary, with it being much easier to coordinate and everything. Similar to GB, there's also rewards for reaching certain milestones and eliminating people, or into healing allies. I will get into the healing allies part in a bit as well. Pretty straightforward. The more enemies you eliminate, the higher you get in the stage rewards. Here I also think that rewards will change. Nobody will go deep into speed ups for grey badges, especially in the higher leveled brackets of Rocksmeat. But here you can see 2 of the new items that will be introduced with this event, which is the Water of Revival, which can be used to heal a commander. It's like if your deployment dies, not only your troops are wounded, some of them, but your commander gets killed as well and needs to heal. You either wait 30 minutes or you use one of these items to heal, to revive him immediately. And the second item is the Return to City runestone. In comparison to Siege from the Fell, where you can just recall how often you won, the recalling in this event has a limit to add more strategy to it, I assume. Basically meaning that if you want to you're only allowed to recall a certain amount of time. You can either then need to walk back to the base or to a military city with a barrack to disband your troops, or you just let yourself get killed. But yeah, you want to have unlimited recalls, kind of. The heal allies rewards, stage rewards, are basically the same, just with locking ore and reforged ores instead of badges and Oxmeat, which is already the superior rewards. We'll see how it will look like on a live servers. But yeah, Water of Revival as well, and the return zones as well. So then let's get into the troops, into the setups. Let me just disband my armies real quick. So first of all, this looks pretty similar to the Siege of Winterfell setup, where you have your commanders you can select, and the dragons and vehicles actually having a use this time. And you won't play with your own troops in this event. You get 10 million troops that you can use. You can use the highest troops you have or lower level troops as well, however you want it. And as soon as you have killed 10 million troops and didn't heal, you can basically are out of the event, can't really do anything. The hospital has different settings. One for the commander hospital, which is empty right now, but here you could use the water of revival to heal your commanders, or the troop hospital. As you can see, playing with Defiers will also cost you Valyrian steel, and it can get quite costly in resources as well. So it could and speed ups as well. One of the ways to play the event probably is just to play with the 10 million you have, and then once that's done, you're done. Or you want to heal, depending on what you need, or if the faction needs you more, then you heal or not. But yeah, no real troop loss. You will just use your resources and speed ups, but your troops will be fine. Yeah, as in similar to Siege of NFL, you can save presets of your formations, and also the synergies of commanders is similar, if not the same, as in Siege of NFL. So setups that you used in Siege of NFL probably will work fine for All Out War as well. The only difference in All Out War is you have a vehicle, but I'll get to that in a bit later. And you have special troops. What do these special troops mean? So if you just run one type of troops, you can turn them into special troops. And then they have certain special abilities or skill sets. Let's start with the infantries. If you convert your infantry into special troops, you'll convert them into ironclads, and they will have a lower movement speed by 30%, and they can counter all sorts of damage while increasing their counter coefficient by 30%. So if you have super infantry soldiers, they will counter all other troop types and increase the counter coefficient by 30% already as well, which is quite big, with the downside of having, of course, the 30% movement speed reduction. Then you have the cavalries, which turn into kamikaze soldiers, which is hilarious. They receive 25% more damage from counterattacks, so they're more vulnerable to spears and super infantry soldiers. They have a 10% movement speed out of combat bonus. And they for the first 3 seconds in a fight, they make 50% more damage themselves. So they're super quick. They do extra damage in the first seconds of the game, but then they just die quickly. So it's a bit of a payoff. They're super great to taking villages quickly because of how quickly they move across the map. So they're certainly a pretty good choice if you want to get to other places quickly. Then you have the spearmen. If you turn them into super soldiers, they take 15% reduced damage from pincer attacks, 5% overall damage reduction, and the way I understand this is they take 25% less damage by skills. So they're basically the tanks of this event. Tanky spears. Then it gets a bit bonkers, let's say, with the bowmen, because if you turn your bowmen to super soldiers, they have a 300% increased attack range. So they just snipe you from out of your screen, kind of, and they can't be countered except by the ironclads, so by the super infantry soldiers. They also have reduced movement speed by 30%, so they're super slow, and they can't produce any rage. So if you want to use your super bow soldiers, you shouldn't use them with commanders that you rely on their skills, and rather just pure stat commanders. And because they won't produce any rage, so they won't use any skills, so it's a waste to use those commanders on them. They also, with having this big buff on the attack range, they also do 25% less damage, which is fine. You have super range. You can making it doing a little bit less damage is totally fine payoff. But they also take 50% more damage. So what you will want to try is have the bows in the back line, the other ones in the front, and just protect your bows under all costs in these battles, and have them just snipe down on your enemy from afar. With this range, city sieging is super easy, because the way it is right now, the bows have a higher range than the city than the defending city structures. So I could take my bow deployment. I can show you real quick. You see the huge range on it, similar to in the circles as in Siege of Winterfell. So what you could do if you siege a city and have bows, you can attack the archer towers. A bit more. You can attack the archer towers, right? They're in your range. You can shoot over the walls as well. While the archer towers have a smaller range than the bowman. So this means that you can just clear the defending structures from afar. You can attack the gate from afar as well, with the defending troops having no counterplay against it except coming out and meeting you. So sieging will be interesting with more players on it. Bowmen seem pretty strong for sieging. You can just let the bows tear down the city gate and then let the melee troops flood in and kill the enemy. On the map, it's similar to GB. When a building is under attack or is declared on, you see it's burning while the battle is ongoing, and while it's declared on, you see this red shimmering around it. As I said, the declaration is at the moment 1 hour, which is quite a lot. But which is quite a little amount of time. So hopefully will be adjusted for the live servers. But yeah, the way the cities are constructed is they have the municipal center in the center, right? Pretty straightforward. And then they have different buildings depending on the kind of city that they are. All cities have a warehouse. Then the military city has the barracks. And that's it. If you would go to a blessing city, for example, it has just a warehouse, nothing else. So the industrial city has no other building than the warehouse inside of it. The same is true for the resource city and other blessing cities. The gates also have nothing inside except the warehouse. If you go back to the main city, you will see that you have a barracks, so you can deploy from here. You have the warehouse, and you have the armory. In this armory, you can construct vehicles. There are different vehicles, basically an offensive vehicle, medical vehicle, and a gathering vehicle. The chariots, which are the offensive military vehicles, basically give allies 50% extra stats. So you're a bit stronger while you use this. You have a skill you can use with a 30-minute cooldown, which is the same across all the different levels of chariots as well. Then a bit of a different vehicle would be the medic vehicle, which has a reduced speed, but has the possibility of healing allies when you're in a logistic state. The logistics state is an option you can select when setting up your deployment. It's not something in GP where you need to swap in and locked for 24 hours, but it's rather like each deployment you can assign to be logistics or not. And then in addition to the medic vehicle, you also have the resource wagon, which basically, if you are running around the world with that, you will have an increased gathering speed for the constructions you're doing, for the gatherings of resources you're doing. So it's nice. It's not something big, but it's a bit of a bonus, which is nice. Each of these buildings will need to be constructed by the faction and cost the resources I mentioned earlier. Another use of the resources is that you can turn villages into a fortress. It's quite expensive at the moment with the pioneer resources, but given how little players are playing, I think that this cost will become pretty low and pretty affordable when it's alive with more people playing. So the only reuse for resources are turning the villages into fortifications, into fortresses, constructing the vehicles, and to heal your troops. So I brought one of the deployments back, and just to show you the logistics slate. So I could now click here on convert to logistics. This means that when I'm in logistics, I will have a higher health and defense while a lower attack. If I'm transporting supplies while being in a logistics state, I can use these supplies to replenish resilience of my allies. If I'm being deployed with the medic vehicles, I can also use these resources to heal an ally. So yeah, resilience is also a thing in this event. You will see, if you check this, you can see that deployment I now just launched has 100, has a resilience of 100, and the other ones that are at the moment are marching have a low resilience. This is basically the same as in GB. The longer you march, the lower your resilience gets. So you either need to try to optimize your marching to be as short as possible, or just to have enough support with enough resources around you. They're replenishing your resilience on the way. Then let's get to the shop. The supply shop has, at the moment, has potions that you can buy for blue diamonds, which are providing buffs for you, but they're not quite finished yet, the descriptions, so I'm not going to go into detail into them. But it's basically just 5 per event, I assume, that you can buy per potion. And then you can also buy some healing speeds, which I assume will be changed to this with the alliance supplies, so that you can have some alliance speed ups similar to alliance conquest that you can use. As you can see, there already is some kind of war progression system, as there is in GeoNFL, in Glorious Battle, of course. At the moment, this wasn't really put in place for Pioneer because of the limited testing time, but I would assume that each stage, similar to Glorious Battle, will open different regions and allow different regions to get attacked and different buildings to be occupied. There are also faction targets, which don't have anything yet. So the first one, which also provide these alliance supplies. so I assume it doesn't help to purchase stuff in the shop. Then there's also the faction quests, which are your way of obtaining the royal coins, which you then can use to buy things in the contribution shop. Some SS medals, some essences, weapon chests for Kravis' crown. These items seem to reset daily, while these reset every 2 weeks. And you're also limited by the amount of coins you can get per day, being 1,500 per day. So if you finish a quest, you might want to time the way you are getting your chests, the quests. Yeah. At the moment you can see that my faction has been declared on in this building. If you want to take a city, you need to breach at least one city gate, of course. Then you need to occupy the municipal center. Once you destroyed the durability of the municipal center, you can start occupying it, which is basically the same as in GB or Zero Hunderfell, where you have the progress bar going, and the more people you have inside of the circle, the quicker it goes. Pretty straightforward. It's basically the same for villages, just that the villages are a bit different. These villages everybody can declare on. So you click on a village, you click launch occupation, and then your occupation starts. Everybody can do that in the faction. You don't need to be a military leader or a faction commander to do that. Then basically, as soon as you get in the circle, the occupation starts. It's pretty straightforward. And then as soon as the occupation is done and finished, you will see that you need to rebuild the village. Rebuilding is done just by sending your deployments inside of the village. Then they rebuild it. It doesn't take long. It's like a minute or something at most with 3 deployments. So it's really quick. While occupying with low amount of deployments might take a while longer, but given if it's on live servers, you will have more than 20-30 people playing at the same time, so it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums it all up. We went through the map, we went through the explanation of the buildings, we went through village occupation, city occupation, the super soldiers, which is an interesting mechanic. Bows still seem a bit strong with extra range, but we'll see how that plays out with more people playing it. And yeah, you can see now, for example, the progress bar going for me occupying this neutral village. But yeah, I think I'm going to end the video here at this point. If you have any questions, I'm going to try and answer them in the comments. You can ask them in the comments. I will try to answer them as well as I can with the limited Pioneer knowledge that I have. Elsewise, I'm looking forward to playing this. It seems like a pretty good RTS mode. Pretty complex, much to delve into, much to strategize about. Going to be interesting to see the dynamics between the alliances working together in a faction. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a great day.